Samasta-jana-kalyane niratam karunamayam namami chinmayam devam satgurum brahma-vidvaram satgurum brahma-vidvaram. So I was thinking over the summer, what should we do in this session for adults? It's a unique challenge for me. I have to keep you guys coming back and keep you awake while you're here as well. So if it's something that's super technical and super boring, I've lost you. If it's something you've done a million times, I've lost you there as well. So I thought, why not go to that one text? No matter how many times we go through it, in whichever angles, we always find something new to help us. That text is Bhagavad Gita. Best of all of them. Now, think about this. If you ask, what is our book? I went through that last time. A whole host of answers, and the Veda is where everything comes from. Access to the Veda is difficult for us. There's a language barrier in terms of context, understanding where it's coming from. A lot of it is very arcane. It's not really feasible in this day and age to abide by what's given there. Thank God for Bhagavad Gita. Everything that is in that Vedic compendium distilled into a mere 700 verses with actual practical ways to live this religion. Because in here, if I talk about, oh, this will help you later in life, or upon death, realizing this, you were born not again, who cares? I want a religion that helps me here and now, practical advice to deal with my issues that I face currently. So let's see, what are those issues then? Our study will engage primarily with chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga. First question to ask ourselves is, why do I do what I do? Career, for instance, your chosen profession. Whether you're an engineer, whether you're in healthcare, health and wellness, fit, whatever you find yourself in, why did you choose what you chose? First of all, was it in your control, in your hands? Okay, for many, no. That's one shift between your generation and, if I can say that, my generation. I'm not that much younger than you, but it sounds nice to say up here at least. So, your kids, for instance, in college, the average American student changes their major 1.3 times in college. How many of you changed your major ever when you were studying? Never. That was not even, like, the fact that I'm asking that question, you're like, are you dumb? What kind of question is that? That's the paradigm for your generation. It was not about finding some kind of passion, something that I love to do. It wasn't about that. It's, this is what I do to make a living. That's required. Let me go forth and do it. That's it. There were no second questions about that. And using your parents' money when you're in college, I'm going to find myself and see what I like, that was out of the question as well, right? And you definitely weren't crazy enough to get educated with your parents' money and then run off and become a brahmachari or something. That's the worst thing you can do right there. So it's a very linear way that we look at it. Now, from childhood, we are conditioned to want to have certain desires that require us to work. Get good grades in school. For what purpose? So you get into a good college. Get into a good, reputable school. For what purpose? You're gainfully employed after, and you can somehow pay off your student debt as well. Get that gainful employment with a high salary. For what purpose? That's how you rise in the world. Rising in the world for what purpose? You provide for yourself and your family. Why that? Well, that's what you're expected to do as part of a family. Then create yourself a legacy. Why? For them afterwards. This has been the paradigm loop that we followed, not just generation after generation, lifetime upon lifetime. At every single stage, these are all borrowed desires from somewhere else. Think about it. If salary and money were not an issue, what job would you take up? How many of you would take up the job you have right now? We don't really love what we do that much, okay? Now that's part of life. It's not the whole life, it's part of life. Okay, let's go to family then. We do the best we can, raising our kids the best we can. Every now and then, okay, you can be honest with me, we're all friends right here. You look at other people's kids and don't you wish, gosh man, if my kids were like that, I wouldn't be in the situation I am? I didn't take the spouse exam, I said kids, okay? kids, when you were kids, you say, oh man, why can't we be like those kids? Everyone feels that way at some point. My brother doesn't have any kids yet, but he has a dog. You take him to the dog park, just like we say to our kids, they learn from them. He looks at other dogs that are well behaved. He tells his dog, hey, learn from them, man. Don't always bark and poop everywhere you feel like. To be a little bit more refined and sophisticated. Anyone under our care, we have that feeling for. Yeah, I wish they were better in some way. Now, that backfires at a certain point. You tell your kid, hey, that other kid got such good grades, you didn't get that much, you should be like him. We're fine saying that to our kids. What if the kid said to you, my friend's dad earns that much money, you earn half of that, why don't you do? We would get so mad at our kids. So it's not a two-way street right there. They have desires for us as well to help them. We have desires for them to help us. All of this is there. Now again, going back to, what do I actually want from all of this? Because you look at philosophies in the world, a philosophy can only check out if there's a lifestyle that goes with it. Like socialism, communism, these are high-sounding philosophies that sound really good. You go into the actual application, there is no country in the world that's actually happy under that kind of condition. We've seen that throughout history. So a lifestyle has to validate what that philosophy is or invalidate it. Now, when it comes to Vedanta and this way of living, or what we're going to see pretty soon this year is working without looking for results of actions, working in a way that improves me while erasing any of those blemishes in my personality. All of that is very complicated. Before that, let's look at materialism as a lifestyle. Was there ever a point where you had to be taught from a textbook saying, the more money you have, the happier you'll be. The more stuff you have, the happier you'll be. We're never taught that systematically. Materialism is our human nature. To want more. To do anything to get that more. That's what it is. And unfortunately in the world, especially today, there are a finite amount of resources and things we can get, a growing population of people that are getting more educated, more access to these kind of resources. It gets much more competitive. So what started out as maybe a dharmic prerogative of let me play by the rules, let me be good to get what I want. If you do good and you be good, then you'll get good things. All of that falls apart at a certain point. So this materialistic lifestyle that we live does not work. Now, the challenging part about teaching Bhagavad Gita to adults is half the stuff I'm going to say you already know, we just don't truly believe in it. We say to people even, money doesn't make you happy, all of this. Do you notice it's always rich people that say that money doesn't make you happy? No one poor ever says that. It's always the people with something that say, oh, none of this makes you happy, it's about other things at the end of the day. That's there. So do we really believe what we even say half the time? Now, in Sanatana Dharma, it is the most realistic look at the human condition. If you look at the four Purusharthas, goals of life, the very first two are Kama and Artha. Kama, personal desire. Artha, that goal of having wealth. Nothing is wrong with that. Without seeking wealth, without that carrot in front of us, a lot of people wouldn't do anything in the first place. From a young age, we're conditioned to learn that. One parent came to me recently. They said, look, I'm in a conundrum. My kid hates waking up for Bhagavad in the morning. They're 9 a.m. session, okay? So they don't get the luxury of whatever luxuries you have, they don't have, okay? Your bad thing is this overlaps with football games during football season. That's when we see the gentlemen stop coming when football season really starts. You see me checking the score on the sly and stuff as well. But for the morning session then, my kid cannot wake up for it, always puts up a fight. But he's on the swim team. He has to be at practice by 6:30 every weekday. He's up and ready to do that, however. Is it that he's inspired for that, not inspired for this? That could be part of it. The more important thing here is the consequence associated with it. If he doesn't show up to that on time, he could be cut from the team. That hurts his prospects when it comes to what he wants to do. Here, what is our consequence if he's late or he skips? I'm not going to tell you not to come. Any exposure they get here is good. I'm not going to enforce those kinds of things. For parents, it's the same way. A lot of you come and say, I try to have a sadhana practice, I can never seem to stick with it. I want to wake up early, do some kind of anushtana with a puja, then do some japa, some dhyana, meditation, something like this. I can't keep that going for more than 2 days at a time. So I asked them, okay, work meeting, your 8 a.m. stand-up, you never missed that. You miss that, you could get fired. That is, you don't eat eventually. That matters, there's a real consequence there. For not following a spiritual regimen or a spiritual routine, what is the consequence at the end of the day? Now, you would say, okay, the consequences have to be bigger. I would say our belief has to be bigger. Look at it this way. When I was growing up, I had a problem with all the stories that we'd learned. They all start with, there was great, pious, humble king, a good king, a nice king. It always starts with one monarch. And growing up in this country, I always learned democracy is star-spangled awesome, that this monarchy system is just a dictatorship and everything. I never understood that. Going through Hindu political theory, what did I find? There is one objection saying, if a king gets drunk with power, can't he just subjugate all his people and do whatever he wants? He could easily do that. He has the power to do it. Because in our Bharatiya system, the king believed so much in the Veda, he knew if he mistreated his own people, he would be born in a lower birth in the next life. That served as a check on his power. Belief actually influenced behavior. Now look at it in the same vein right here. Does our belief in our Hindu principles dictate our behavior in any way? That's the first test we have to look at. So I don't have a habit of going through self-help books. You all keep recommending me books that I should go through. I get these messages all the time. Oh, I read this book. It changed my life. Huddy, it's going to change your life as well. Okay. I'm still waiting for my life to be changed. Still has not happened yet. But there's one book that piqued my interest because, and I've mentioned this a couple years ago, it went through the 8 areas of life. Entire human life can be put into 8 different buckets. What were those 8 categories it had? Business and career, wealth and finance, friends and family, love life, health and fitness, recreation, entertainment, hobbies, physical environment, and personal development. These 8. There's no area of life that doesn't fit into these, okay? Now, if we're saying my religion directly affects my actions and the way I think, these are our 2 parameters, my actions and my mindset, naturally, our religion should have an influence on most, if not all, of these 8 factors, right? Logically speaking. Does your Hindu belief system influence your business and career? Yeah, Huddy, I don't send blood diamonds or anything. I mean, if we get into something, is that something that we feel is influenced by the religion? Yes? No? It's a stretch. Kind of. We had one mission member years ago. He worked in project management for a beer distillery company. Started coming to the mission more and more, sending his kids here, volunteering. He thought to himself, man, this project management I could do anywhere. I'm doing it for a company that, if I do a good job, becomes more efficient at selling beer. What am I doing at the end of the day right here? So he switched jobs, took a pay cut. But he said, okay, I can live with myself now at least. So business and career, from an ethical standpoint, yes, that could have an influence. Wealth and finance, does your Hindu belief system influence how you handle wealth and finance? I donated a mission last year, Huddy, what are you talking about? Okay, could be one way. But do we really think of that when it comes to how we spend our money? Hinduism is the last thing on our mind. It doesn't really come up there. Friends and family. Is there a Hindu influence in how we choose our friends? Like, one question I ask, in your friendship circles that you have, are there like 3 people that you have where you can discuss spiritual matters with? Without them rolling your eyes or ridiculing you or making fun of you for attending satsang on a Sunday morning, do you have 3 friends like that? They're hard to come by. Your university friends that you grew up with, they're in a whole different lane of life right now. The friends that you made here, co-workers, it's a different thing. In the mission, hopefully we find like-minded people. That's why we want you to mingle so much. We find like-minded people here. Okay, when it comes to love life, fourth, when it's time to get people married, we ask about, the family and the income level of the boy or the girl and their educational quality and all of this. Does the question ever arise of what's their spiritual outlook? Did anyone ask you that when it was time to get married? Who cares? It's not something that really comes up. There's no relevance right there. All right, health and fitness. Is there a Hindu relevance there? I do yoga, buddy. Okay, that's the most lowest hanging fruit. What we consume as well. One argument, so many of the high school kids, the boys especially, their parents and them come to me because they have a disagreement. That the boy says, I don't want to be vegetarian, I want to eat non-vegetarian food. So I asked them why. I know why. I asked them why. Well, I'm starting to work out, I want to get the muscle. Because once you get to a college campus, every Indian guy, all right, whether they use it or not, every Indian guy has a whey protein dabba on top of their fridge. I know that because I also had that when I was in college. As you can see, nothing came of that, but every guy has that. And the thinking that's popularly spread is if you have a vegetarian diet, you can't gain muscle, can't look good for girls, therefore what's the point of life? All of these things start because of it. So I asked them, okay, you want to eat meat? I totally get it, for the protein. Now, our values in Sanatana Dharma, ahimsa is one of our biggest values, non-injury. Can you really tell me that it's okay just for the sake of gaining muscle and getting that, you're saying that you can eat meat, killing an animal, eating it, consuming it for your own pleasure? Is that ahimsa at the end of the day? And they say, oh no, that's, it's okay to do that. Okay, how do we talk about compassion while still doing something like this? Every religion on earth talks about compassion. Hinduism is the one religion that says actually follow when it comes to your diet as well. See how far that goes. So health and fitness. Recreation, entertainment, hobbies. Is there a Hindu relevance there? I'm going to watch Ramayana in November. Is that the Hindu relevance there? It could be, could not be, right? Physical environment. Is there a Hindu relevance there? This is one I fought my dad with a lot. When I was in middle school, we were getting a new house. We'd go and look at the model homes and everything. Everything was perfect. My room was bigger than my brother's room. That was important to me at the time. The kitchen is big. Mom was happy with that. Good sized puja room. And then my parents would reject the house. Why? The vastu is not compliant. The door opens this way, that way. I said to my dad, after like the third house, I said, man, look, all of these white people living on this street, their houses are not vastu compliant. Are they getting ruined and stuff? And he's like, look, it's a science, you don't understand it. He was right, it's a science, I didn't understand it. So maybe we can say physical, and some people buy a home closer to the temple for ease of access there. I've seen people do that, empty nesters and everyone. Personal development, yes, that's definitely, there's a Hindu relevance. You see how much of a stretch we had to make at each point to say there's a Hindu relevance? Even in our lives as adults, the most relevance we put from a Hindu perspective is, I go to the temple once a week or I do some cursory puja. If that's the relevance in our lives, how are we supposed to make our American-born kids have that Hindu identity? It won't happen. I'm not criticizing you, I'm just saying don't be surprised when that identity is not there. Unless we strengthen that identity, invade every part of our lives, it will have no effect. Now, this is where Bhagavad Gita comes in. Because one common resistance to want to take this in is, the ideas given in Bhagavad Gita are outdated, they do not help us in today's day and age. One great example, in 3rd chapter, we'll see very clearly, one of the tenets of Karma Yoga is working fully and faithfully without looking for the results or the fruits of my actions. Working faithfully and fully without looking for the results or fruits of my actions. Right away, that raises a red flag. When do we ever do an action without looking for a certain result? From waking up and filling my stomach to anything I do, I am looking for a certain result from it. That if I do this, this should happen. That's human nature. What it's talking about is when there are strong likes and dislikes, insisting on what I want, that is what creates an impression in my personality. I saw a quote one time, I'm a very simple person, I only like the best. So in everything, whether it's food or rest or this or vacation, whatever it is I want the best, I'm very simple. All I demand is the best. There are people that demand things like that of us as well. That's why I always tell the kids, we have different competitions and stuff here. Gita chanting competition, other things. I always tell the kids, it's not about winning or losing in those. What's the bigger growth that you're seeing there? I did those competitions as a kid. I got 3rd place 3 years in a row. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. 7th grade, I quit. I never competed again after that. I was so embarrassed and angry at myself every year for getting that 3rd place trophy is this big. 2nd place is this, 1st place is that big. I stopped. No matter how much my parents or teachers tried to get me to do it, I quit after that. That is my biggest regret. Because those chapters that I learned those 3 years, they made such an impression even when I became a brahmachari and going through Gita at a serious level. Those few chapters came to mind so much easier because I'd gone through that as a kid. That's the real wealth that I got from it. Forget a trophy. Those trophies sit in my parents' cabinet. When I go home, I hate looking at it. They put it right in the front room also. Those 3 mediocre 3rd place trophies. Still, it gets me mad. The point is, what is the bigger growth? Now, what do adults point to? They say that this idea of nishkama karma, working without looking for the results of action, is completely unrealistic. Because look at it this way when you're working. 2 people at the same company. One guy puts his head down, diligently does his work, does not talk about it at all, lets his work do the speaking for him, and is just very straight that way. The other coworker does things only when the boss is looking. Smallest thing he does has to update his LinkedIn talking about how he did it. Schmoozes with all the executives all the time, barely does the real work. Who rises in the company? All of you are successful people, you know the second one, not because you did that. The second one is the one that rises for sure. Looking at that, we say this whole idea of working diligently, not looking for the fruits, not boasting about it, is unrealistic. What's the flaw in the argument right here? Whoever said a promotion or a higher salary was spiritual growth? We are trying to take a square peg, trying to fit it into a round hole, and then complaining when it won't go in. The reason being, I am attributing the factors that help me in the world out there, saying that is what I want from spiritual growth as well. Bhagavad Gita never promises those are material advancements at the end of the day. Spiritual living won't get me that, it gets me something much higher. Do I have faith in what that higher is, however? That's where I stop my own growth. I'm at this level where with my myopia, I only see what's right in front of me as this is success, this gives me happiness. I want to use even those spiritual tools to give me something so low. There was a priest at a temple who was ardently worshiping every day. One day Bhagavan actually came down, Bhagavan Shiva, because Ashutosha, easily amused, Bhagavan Shiva came down. Said, I'll grant you something. Ask me for anything, I'll give you one thing. What did the priest ask? He was making his pan. So he had the leaf. He said, oh, chuna bhul gaya. Can you give me some chuna, some lime to finish the pan? Whatever you demand, Bhagavan gives. He's like, all right, I'll give you this then. But that's what we're doing, right? We have so much potential. We want the lowest things thinking this will make me happy. So the quest that we find in chapter 3 of Gita is not, how do I become this perfect person? That's not what it is. It's first, do I understand what my accumulated personality is? Accumulated because we are made by what we do in the immediate past, meaning this lifetime, remote past in previous lifetimes. We have certain tendencies that no matter what, we cannot let go of. They eat away at us. Whether it's anger, jealousy, lust, greed, hatred, some of these things are just integrally a part of our personality. The way they become compounded over time is we have not found ways to deal with them. We don't recognize it in our own personality, or the people we've placed around us are not there to help us with those things. They only exacerbate those things even more. Like you go to these kids' performances, right? Things that are going on. This only happens at our Indian kids' performances. I'll be very open about that from what I've seen. Whether they do music, dance, or some other performance, whatever it is. The dads will hang out outside, and you find cigarette butts everywhere at the end. That's their one activity that they do out there. Beady break for the entire time the kid's on stage. Or they go watch their kid the rest of the time they're out smoking or something. Lots of these events I've seen that happen. Where you find other people with that same mindset, you will delve into that. You find other people with that same exact mindset of, I'm here not for the task at hand, I just want to do something else, smoke my time away, whatever it is. We will always find people in line with our line of thinking. We're never alone. That's what validates our own behavior, when we find other people. Here, if you were the only one coming for satsang, you'd stop coming after a while because you feel out of place. There's no one else here. And it'll just be me and my webcam after that. Other people come, therefore, okay, there must be some value. Other people have been coming for years, okay, there must be some more value. Then we congregate and come together. It takes my faith in other people doing something for me to say, I want to partake in it as well. That's a positive example. Negativity works the same way. Even though we've never been trained educationally from birth that materialism is good, diagram A. Materialism is great, chapter 2 tells you this. We don't learn it that way. We see enough examples around us of people that have materially grown and they're happy. That's what sparks us to do more. When have you in your life seen someone be happy because they followed the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavad Gita? Can you name anyone you've seen that's happy because of it? We don't find that convincing. We hear stories about some guru that lived at some point. They were happy because of this knowledge. We resign ourselves to say, okay, that's confined to people that take up the cloth and live that lifestyle. This is not for me, however. Bhagavan Krishna taught this knowledge to Arjuna, who was a grahastha, householder. Oh, but I'm not a warrior or anything. Take all that part out. That's all just contextual, circumstantial. At the end of the day, it comes down to, what is my duty? Chapter 3 specifically is, why do I do what I do? How do I give that to the higher? How do I improve through action? Because Arjuna says, I'm just going to take sannyas and run away. I don't want to fight this war. I don't want these responsibilities. I am done. I just want to renounce everything. Bhagavan says that's not your duty right now. You must act, which we'll see in chapter 3 as well. Now, the part I want to bring up specifically today as it pertains to chapter 3 is this other part of the argument where, what is the point of my work and what I do? Because by the time people get, it used to be 50 years old, now I'm seeing it at age 45 even. When I talk to people, how is work, how is everything? Huddy, I just work to pay the bills, I have no feeling for it anymore. That used to come at 60 even. Now, 45 years old, people are saying that to me. Meaning, we work so hard to get the jobs that we have and what we're doing, forget loving that, we resent what we have to do. And because of that mindset, that resentment bleeds into how I deal with my family, how I deal with my friends in the community. Our kids get influenced by that resentment as well. Plays a huge role. When we're jaded, bitter, doing something because it pays the salary and so I can live, but God, I hate what I do. What is the point of work then? This is where we turn to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. With the logic being, because my personality has the taint of strong likes and dislikes, I am bound by them. And these impressions have been made in my mind for so long, lifetimes upon lifetimes. These are shackles on my personality. Every time I act in accordance with my likes and dislikes, it compounds these impressions, called vasanas, more and more. Now, here's what I must do. I need to get rid of these vasanas I have currently, but the problem is, the catch-22, anytime I do an action, it only compounds them more. And the only way I can get rid of them is through action. So I have to get rid of these impressions in my personality and not create any new impressions either. What is the one mechanism to make that happen? Karma yoga. Where Bhagavan Krishna clearly states, working at the sense of duty, not looking for any other result besides that fulfillment of duty, that exhausts the current likes and dislikes I have right now, creates no new likes and dislikes going forward. This, in a nutshell, is spiritual progress. This is what's outlined in chapter 3. That's why it's one of the most important chapters of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Often misunderstood, though. Why? Because, again, we think whatever goals I set for the material world, my spiritual journey should fulfill those goals. Bhagavad Gita tells me, what are my real goals to begin with? How do I take that spiritual journey to get there? Now, everything else that we see, this idea of devotion, action done the right way, seeking knowledge, everything is a part of this. All of that is included in this one chapter. The clarity we can get from this one chapter can really set us up for success. That's what I'm hoping for from this year of this satsang during this time. Now again, what's the context that we're looking at for all of this? People often say, oh, Arjuna was a weak person, that's why he was crying as much as he was so despondent, that's why Bhagavan had to save him. I'm strong, mentally great, I don't need any of this. Really? Arjuna was the greatest warrior of his time. And so the night before the battle starts, they're in their respective tents, Pandavas and Kauravas. Bhagavan Krishna looks outside his tent and he sees a chariot going by with the insignia of Dhritarashtra on its flag. And so he's surprised. He rushes to the Pandavas' tent. Dhritarashtra is not there. His charioteer Sanjaya is there. Now, Sanjaya at that moment doesn't want Bhagavan Krishna there. He's there to clearly deliver a message, but you can't ask him to go. And Bhagavan Krishna, as shrewd as he is, he also says, do the Pandavas mind if I'm here for this message? Yudhishthira says, what are you saying? You've guided us this whole time. You sit on my throne, I'll sit at your feet, is what he says. Then Sanjaya delivers the message from Dhritarashtra. We're all one big happy family. Why do we have to have this war? We outnumber you by so much. If we defeat you and kill you, you die. That's a loss. If you win this war by killing us, your new kingdom is tainted by the blood that you have shed. That's also a loss, lose-lose situation for you as Pandavas. Yeah, we may have done some bad things to you in your life. We tried to kill you in the wax palace, tried to kill you before then, tried to kill you after then in the exile, tried to kill you in the other battle that we had, and tried to kill you a few more times. But hey, let the water go under the bridge. None of that matters now. We are just one family. If this war happens, everyone dies. There are widowed people, fatherless people everywhere. You're ruining society for generations to come. This entire message is delivered. Yudhishthira held firm, did not say a word. It said that Bhima, sitting on his golden simhasana, was so enraged when he was balling up his fists that gold was turning into powder. If Bhagavan Krishna weren't there, he would have thrown that throne at Sanjaya. Nakula and Sahadeva stood firm as well. Who's the one person that wavered? Arjuna. The next morning on that battlefield, every single word of Dhritarashtra's message verbatim makes up chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, giving endless reasons why he cannot fight, cannot do his duty. That warrior who was the greatest in history at that point has suddenly fallen, seeing everyone right in front of him. That is where Bhagavan Krishna takes the reins, literally. Says, I'm not just going to inspire him to fight, I'm going to give him this deepest knowledge. Then starts the greatest discourse ever given. While other talks we have in the Upanishads and everywhere, it's in a Gurukula, they're nice and relaxed in the ashram, the student has time to ask questions, and the teacher leisurely answers them. This was in the middle of a battlefield. Meaning, spiritual knowledge is not confined to some kind of ashram being away from everything. Dynamic spirituality, this is needed in the battlefield that we find ourselves in. That kind of strength is what's needed. In many ways, from the perspective of Shraddha, belief system, how firm am I in what my Hindu beliefs are? Meaning, how knowledgeable am I about them? How firm am I in that no other philosophy can shake me from what I truly believe? And when some other philosophy masquerading as Vedanta presents itself in some new fad, can I identify and say that's not what Vedanta is saying? This is what Bhagavad Gita says. What's my level of Shraddha? There's a battlefield of sadhana out there as well. What are those spiritual practices I feel actually help me? What is the effort I put forth to make those happen? That's something I must ask myself too. Or else they become empty rituals and I abandon them, saying, oh, I don't believe in all this ritualistic Hinduism, I'm more spiritual. What the hell does that mean though? Really, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Without a doing, there is no knowing. Without knowing, there is no being. Doing is that first step that has to matter. Some kind of process. So Shraddha, sadhana. Sanskriti, a culture is also tested out there. Look at any other civilization in the world, one of the original civilizations. The Sanatana Dharma civilization is the only one still existing today. Native Americans had a beautiful culture in this country, in this very state that we live in, completely stamped out by European conquerors. The original Chinese civilization, Mesopotamia, Africa had a beautiful civilization, completely taken over by Islam over centuries. We are the only original civilization still surviving today. There is a tenacity and a magic to what our civilization is. And it's not like we were solitary and left alone. 1,100 years, barbaric Islamic invasions, terrible Christian invasions, we've faced all of it. Temples broken down, teachers killed, ashramas and libraries burned down, entire generations slaughtered. It's still happening today in some parts. Yet we still persist. There is something special about what this religion has. So you take that from Sanskriti to Rashtra, the country we come from, Sangha, the people, it has weathered so much. In the name of secularism today in India, Hinduism is constantly under attack. Whether by the media, whether by politicians, whether by institutions, whether by a next generation of youth that has no respect for what we do, all of it is constantly under attack, yet it still perseveres. Not out of some luck, there are people that keep it retained every generation. That's what keeps it alive. That's why I try to stress to the Balvihar kids, you don't take this seriously. Do you understand how many people died in history so you could remain Hindu today? It's a sizable number. Stories that you never learned in school with the colonial education, stories that we definitely never learned in school, this is the only place where we can give it. So while Bhagavad Gita is the edifice of philosophy and practical living, it also goes wider into protecting ourselves as a civilization. In a rhetorical sense, in a physical sense, in every sense. There were freedom fighters that used Bhagavad Gita as inspiration, not just religious leaders. So this is an all-encompassing text. Now, one thing I'd like to do in all of this is to ask questions that make us think as we go forward. So the question for this week, just to think or to discuss with people that you know. Why do I do what I do? From the most overarching things like why I chose a career or, why do I live where I live, all these choices, down to the mundane daily things, routines that I have. Why do I do what I do? Because if I can't justify it for myself, when push comes to shove, I'll abandon it at some point. So why is it that I take up certain practices? Why do I do what I do? Now, one last thing to end with here. The actions that we do on a daily basis create that larger personality. That's what we tell our kids all the time, right? Little habits that you do daily, that makes your overall personality. Same is true for spiritual growth. It's most true in this realm, that what I do daily adds up to something bigger. Once a week satsang is great, no doubt about it. We have a fun time in here. Most of you are still awake, so kudos to you all. But at the end of the day, a week satsang from a 33-year-old brahmachari, you're not going to gain as much as you should be. Is there something supplemental going on? Now, this is where beware. I know, YouTube has a bunch of videos on Hinduism and everything. Just like you guys are always concerned, what are your kids looking at on the internet? I'm also concerned, what are you guys looking at on the internet? Okay? Not everything out there is the truth. Start with the videos of Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji. Chinmaya channel, our official YouTube account for Global Chinmaya Mission, they have an entire playlist with about 730 videos called Gita capsules. Pujya Gurudev's messages on Bhagavad Gita, each video is like 5 to 7 minutes long. Not long at all. You can even plug it in, listen on the way to work if you want to. I guarantee you, you listen to one of those videos a day in the morning. Think about it throughout the day whenever you have time. So much clarity will set in, so many questions will set in as well. Because make no mistake, a young brahmachari doing once a week satsang, you gain something from it, I'm sure, but it's very little. You want to really compound the knowledge that you're getting, make strides in it, listen to those Gita capsules. His commentaries are also available. We'll have them here for purchase pretty soon. We're ordering a new shipment. You really want to take advantage of your spiritual growth. Be active about it, not passive. The most passive is those that drop their kids off and go. They have no importance for it. They don't even care. I can't ever reach out to them. That's whatever. Step above that is when you actively come here, you want to listen. If you want more, you should want more, read his commentaries, watch his videos. That makes it that much more accelerated, any progress you can make. And if you're thinking, okay, I'll wait till the kids graduate, then I'll get into this. Then that becomes once the kids are done with college and everything and I retire, then I'll get into this. Then it becomes now I'm on grandparent duty after I retired. After they get older, then I'll get into this. By the time all of that ends, they put a mala on you by the end. Not a realization one, a different one. It's too late by then. What is the best time then? Now. There is no good time to make time for spiritual knowledge. That never comes. If we're waiting for it, that will never be there. In our congregation, you are all successful people that are doing big things. There's always some next big opportunity coming up for you. Okay? The thing about intelligent people is they never sit there just doing nothing. That's the hallmark of all of you. Making time for this has to be a necessity then. Responsibilities won't stop. Kids will always be there, work will always be there, all of that. The most I can say is try to make that time. We'll work together to make that time. In that vein, starting after Labor Day, we're restarting our Devi groups and study groups. For the Frisco area, Devi groups, which is a ladies group where I present satsang every single week with discussions and activities and everything, that meets from 10:30 to noon on Thursdays at one of our Sevaks homes, just right here, not too far away, 10:30 to noon for the Frisco crowd. Study group, for ladies and gentlemen, we have one group that meets in Frisco that's filled out by now. If there is more interest, we'll start one more group. Okay, so I'll send a form out soon about that. If there is interest, because this one group has 15 regular members, they've been joining for 2 years now. Any more than 15 people, it becomes like this. It's not a discussion group at that point. So we'll start a new group if there's any sustained interest. We'll pick a day of the week for that. Weekly, being able to go through different topics and discuss with your peers, the growth is even more. Because here you can be just passive and, open your eyes wide and act like you're awake. There is when your questions are tested, you have to answer each other, that growth is so much more. And you build your own friend circle with the people in those study groups. That's the biggest benefit. Sattvic environment for everyone. So with that, thank you so much for joining today.